In July 2024, a worker was involved in a workplace incident inside a warehouse. While unloading materials from a truck during the process, the individual lost balance while handling a piece of aluminum and fell to the ground. Co-workers responded immediately and provided assistance. The worker was reported injured during the incident and received medical evaluation. The event prompted a review of material handling practices and safety protocols for employees working at height or while handling heavy or awkward items. Workers should maintain secure footing and proper body positioning when handling materials, especially on elevated surfaces or vehicle platforms. Using mechanical aids such as trolley or lifting devices and avoiding holding items on the body can prevent loss of balance. A man is standing beside his vehicle when a large truck passes in the adjacent lane. While the truck is in motion, a component breaks off from the wheel assembly and is thrown uncontrollably. The fast-moving metal part flies across the road and passes extremely close to where the man is standing. The incident demonstrates how much stored energy exists in heavy-duty tire and rim systems. Heavy-duty wheels and rims contain potential energy, which is why unnecessary presence near such vehicles should be avoided, and a safe distance must always be maintained. Uncontrolled mechanical hazards always represent danger. In the footage, the rear doors of a container truck parked at a warehouse loading dock are about to be opened. Before the doors are opened, the condition of the load inside is not clearly checked. Large and heavy, cylindrical loads that were not sufficiently secured during transport suddenly shift as the doors are opened. The movement occurs very quickly and creates a serious risk for a worker standing just outside the container. This incident clearly demonstrates a basic rule. Loads inside containers should always be considered unstable before the doors are opened. No one should stand in the door line. A safety zone must be established before opening, and it must be verified that the load is not pressing against the doors. In the footage, a large weaving hall is shown, with rows of machines operating continuously along the wall. Runs a control rope used to operate the machines, which has become worn due to long-term use. Its insulation is damaged, leaving conductive parts exposed. A worker reaches for the control rope without noticing the damage at the moment of contact. An electrical fault occurs, and the system remains unexpectedly energized. This incident clearly demonstrates a fundamental rule. Damaged or worn electrical control components must never be touched. Exposed conductors pose a severe hazard. Energy must always be isolated before any repair. Work is being carried out near two metal tanks standing side by side in an open area while workers are present. One employee begins welding on the outer surface of a tank. There is no indication that any gas testing or internal cleaning has been performed as the welding heat increases. Residual gases and vapors inside the tank are affected shortly afterward. Internal pressure rises rapidly and the structure loses its integrity. The tank body suddenly ruptures, turning the work area into a hazardous zone. No tank should be considered safe unless it has been gas-frighted and verified by measurement before welding or cutting on tanks, barrels, or confined containers. Gas testing must be performed, cleaning must be completed, and a hot work permit must be obtained. In Fujian Province, People's Republic of China, a worker was involved in a workplace incident while operating a pressure-forming machine in a manufacturing facility. During routine production tasks, the machine was activated before the worker had fully cleared the operating area. As a result, the worker was involved in an unintended machine interaction. Co-workers immediately stopped the equipment and provided assistance. The individual was reported injured during the incident and was taken for medical evaluation. Industrial machines must never be started until operators confirm that all body parts are clear of the operating zone. Proper guarding interlock systems and two-hand controls help prevent unintended activation. Workers should follow standard operating procedures and receive regular training to reinforce hazard awareness. In the footage, two workers are seen working at height, using scissor lifts inside an enclosed construction or warehouse area. On one platform, a worker is performing an installation task, while a nearby platform is being used to support a long material panel. During the work, the supported material loses its balance and begins to move downward. This movement is directed toward the area where the worker on the main platform is located, creating a serious risk within seconds. This incident demonstrates a basic rule: elevated work platforms must not be used for carrying or supporting materials. Loads must be properly secured, kept separate from platforms, and workers at height must be protected against falling hazards. Safety is achieved by using equipment only for its intended purpose. In the footage, a crane is seen lifting a bundle of pipes using slings while the load is suspended. A worker is observed standing within the unloading area below. The area is crowded and attention is scattered. Although the crane operator attempts to keep the load stable, an unexpected slip occurs in the rigging equipment. As a result, the lifting system loses control and the pipes begin to move downward. The load strikes the area where the worker had been standing moments earlier, creating a serious risk. This incident clearly demonstrates a fundamental rule: no one should ever stand beneath a suspended load. Lifting areas must be designated as restricted zones, and only necessary personnel should be present at a safe distance. Safety is ensured by accounting for the potential drop zone of the load. In Guangdong Province, People's Republic of China, a warehouse worker was involved in a workplace incident while loading a large industrial refrigerator onto a pickup truck. The worker and a colleague were positioning the equipment near the tailgate. When the unit shifted unexpectedly, the refrigerator made contact with the worker during the transfer process before settling on the ground. The individual was reported injured during the incident and taken for medical evaluation. Handling and loading heavy equipment requires appropriate mechanical aids, secure lifting devices, and firm communication among personnel. Using tools such as pallet jacks, hoists, or cranes designed for heavy loads, and ensuring all team members understand the movement plan help reduce the risk of injury. In the footage, a worker is seen attempting to pull a heavy load with a pallet jack over the rear tailgate of a truck. During the operation, the tailgate bends under the load and loses its stability. Within a short moment, the load begins to move downward in an uncontrolled manner. This incident clearly demonstrates a basic rule: before lifting and transport, the load capacity of the equipment must be checked. Truck tailgates must not be subjected to loads or pressure beyond their rated limits. Safety is achieved by using the right equipment at the correct capacity. In the footage, workers in a production facility are seen carrying sacks taken from a conveyor belt to a storage area. However, shortly afterward, an unexpected explosion occurs inside the facility, followed by flames spreading across part of the area. The incident shows how unseen risks in production environments can emerge very rapidly. This situation clearly demonstrates a basic rule: in facilities with flammable or reactive risks, hazards must be controlled in advance, materials must be stored correctly, and fire detection and suppression systems must be fully operational. Safety is ensured not after an incident, but through prevention and preparedness. In the footage, a worker is seen standing very close to a high-speed, rotating industrial machine while the machine is running. The worker moves dangerously close to the rotating component. At that moment, loose or hanging clothing comes into contact with the moving parts. As soon as contact occurs, the fabric is rapidly pulled toward the rotating system, making it difficult for the worker to pull away. Co-workers who notice the situation intervene quickly and shut down the machine. This incident clearly demonstrates a fundamental rule: appropriate clothing is critical when working near rotating energized machinery. Loose or hanging garments are extremely dangerous. Intervention must never occur while the machine is running, and lock out/tag out load must be applied before approaching. Safety is ensured not only by proper equipment, but also by proper clothing. In the footage, a worker is seen exiting a freight elevator when the elevator unexpectedly begins to move downward. Just a few seconds after the worker leaves the cabin, the system loses stability and an uncontrolled movement toward the shaft occurs. Thanks to timing, the worker is not directly caught in the incident. What appears to be a routine use quickly turns into a situation involving serious risk. This incident serves as a reminder of a basic rule: elevator systems are not safe without regular maintenance and testing. Carriers, brakes, and safety locks must be inspected periodically, and abnormal behavior must be taken seriously. In the footage, a truck traveling on a busy road slows down and begins a turning maneuver while the driver is focused on the traffic ahead. A motorcycle is approaching from behind in the same lane within a short moment. As the motorcycle attempts to pass across the truck's path, it encounters the side of the vehicle. What begins as an ordinary traffic flow suddenly becomes a high-risk situation due to limited visibility and speed differences. This incident highlights a basic rule: large vehicles have limited visibility and require more time to maneuver. Motorcyclists must maintain proper following distance, and truck drivers must use signals and mirrors correctly at all times. Traffic safety depends on mutual awareness and speed coordination. In the footage, a forklift operator is seen moving forward while carrying an excessively large load that completely blocks forward visibility. The load prevents the operator from seeing the area ahead, making it impossible to clearly recognize what is happening around the forklift while it is in motion. Although this type of transport may appear routine, it can quickly turn into a situation involving serious risk. If the load obstructs visibility, the forklift mustn't be driven forward. The vehicle should be operated in reverse, or the load should be repositioned. In the footage, a forklift is seen reversing in a busy warehouse environment due to the design of the machine. The rear view is restricted, creating a large blind spot for the operator. At the same time, a worker unknowingly steps into the forklift's reversing path. The operator continues the maneuver without adequately checking the surroundings or providing warnings beforehand. Within seconds, a serious risk occurs. Between the forklift and the pedestrian, a routine warehouse activity turns into a dangerous situation. In just moments, this incident clearly demonstrates a fundamental rule: blind spots must always be considered during forklift. Reversing maneuvers, operators must check their surroundings, use warning signals, and if necessary, receive assistance from a spotter. In the footage, a dump truck loaded with stones is seen preparing for unloading. At an industrial site, a worker approaches to manually release the gate lock to begin unloading. As the lock is opened, stones begin to spill out. However, at the same time, a rock at the top that is not fully stabilized shifts position. This incident clearly highlights a fundamental rule: during unloading, not only rearward hazards but also unstable loads above must be considered. No one should stand beneath unsecured loads, and the area must be completely cleared before unloading begins. In the footage, a worker is seen feeding a log debarker machine and dangerously approaching the equipment while it is energized. During this feeding operation, control is lost at the feed point, and the worker's hand enters the area containing moving parts. A routine feeding task quickly turns into a situation involving serious risk due to the machine's continuous and powerful motion. This incident clearly demonstrates a fundamental rule: dangerous zones of energized machinery must never be accessed. The machine must be stopped and lockout/tag out. Procedures applied before any intervention. Safety is ensured by controlling energy. At a busy intersection, traffic is nearly at a standstill. A large truck is waiting at a red light. When an elderly woman begins crossing in front of the vehicle, at that moment, the light changes. As the truck starts moving forward, the driver fails to notice that a pedestrian is still in front of the vehicle. A brief moment of confusion occurs, and the woman comes into contact with the truck. This incident highlights how dangerous limited visibility at intersections can be. Pedestrians should make sure drivers see them before crossing, and drivers must check blind spots before moving. A few extra seconds of attention can save a life. Unloading operation is taking place where loads in a truck bed are being shifted sideways. By hand, one worker attempts to reposition heavy loads by pulling them toward the side. The load is heavier and more unstable than expected, and suddenly binds. During movement, the worker applies more force to free the stuck load in. Doing so, he loses his balance and is thrown toward the edge of the truck bed with nothing to hold on to. He falls off the truck manually. Handling heavy loads on a truck bed increases the risk of falls. Mechanical aids should be used for loading and unloading, and workers should stay away from edges. Safe work begins with planning tasks without overloading human strength. Near a production area, a child is seen playing with a lighter nearby. There is a storage area containing flammable materials. A small spark quickly turns into a dangerous situation. The flames first ignite nearby materials, then rapidly grow and spread to different parts of the facility. Employees notice the situation and immediately begin evacuation, and everyone is moved to a safe area. This incident shows how significant ignition sources are in industrial environments. Open flames must be strictly prohibited in flammable areas. Spaces must be controlled, and everyone must be informed about fire risks. Small neglect can lead to major losses. In an open storage area, large and heavy stone/granite slabs are seen stored vertically on racks. The slabs are placed close together, and there is no system in place to secure them in the same area. A forklift is maneuvering directly in front of these slabs. As the forklift moves, one of the slabs shifts slightly. This small movement causes the entire stack to lose balance. The slabs then begin to fall sideways in a chain reaction and collapse as a massive load. A worker nearby has no time to escape and is trapped beneath the heavy slabs. If heavy slabs or panels are stored vertically, they must always be secured. Unsecured loads can easily tip over, and forklifts or other machinery should not operate nearby without maintaining a safe distance. The consequences can be severe. During a simple field inspection, a serious pressure hazard is noticed. A continuous leak is visible from the top hatch of a powder tanker. This indicates that pressure is still present inside the tank, and the internal environment is not stable. The flow forming around the hatch shows that pressure is being released in an uncontrolled manner. If the tank were to be opened in this condition, the stored energy inside could be released suddenly before opening the tank. The relief valve must be checked, pressure must be reduced to zero, and the system must be isolated. Safety begins with verifying pressure and relief systems before opening any hatch. On an industrial loading lane, a forklift is parked next to a truck. Although there is activity in the work area, the roadway itself appears calm at first glance. At that moment, a scooter rider approaches the lane without having a clear view ahead and without sufficiently reducing speed. The rider enters the loading zone within seconds. The scooter strikes the forklift forks, and the situation turns into a dangerous and unexpected accident. Loading and unloading areas are high-risk zones. Full visibility must be ensured before entering forklift. Forks should be lowered to the ground, and travel paths must be clearly defined. Separate safe routes should be established for vehicles and pedestrians. A worker is holding a tagline by hand to stabilize a large load being lifted by a crane. As the load begins to move, the line becomes taut. Very quickly, the worker is unable to release it in time, and is subjected to strong pulling force, being lifted off the ground and dragged upward within seconds. Shortly afterward, the worker loses balance and falls. Taglines must not be wrapped around or firmly held during lifting operations. Loads should be guided from a safe distance, and lines must always be free. To release a single wrong reflex can be fatal. While attempting to make an adjustment or intervention in an area containing rotating shafts and mechanical components, a worker's clothing comes into contact with a moving part of the machine. The clothing is quickly pulled into the machine, and the worker is suddenly drawn toward the rotating equipment. Protective guards must be used on rotating machinery, and loose clothing must be avoided. Before maintenance or cleaning, the machine must be stopped and energy sources isolated. A moment of neglect can lead to irreversible consequences. In China, a construction worker was involved in a workplace incident while performing duties at a building site during the operation. A crane was lifting a large block of construction material. When the lifting cable failed, the block fell unexpectedly and made contact with the worker standing on the ground. Crane operations require strict adherence to load limits, regular inspection of cables, and secure rigging practices. Suspended loads should never be positioned above workers, and exclusion zones should be clearly defined. Workers must be trained to recognize hazards, maintain situational awareness, and follow established protocols when near lifting operations. Proper equipment, maintenance, pre-lift planning, and continuous communication between operators and ground personnel are essential to reduce the risk of accidents. In Lu City, Zhejiang Province, China, 4 workers were involved in a workplace incident while moving scaffolding for a painting project on a building. During the operation, the scaffolding came into contact with an overhead high-voltage line. Working near high-voltage lines requires strict adherence to electrical safety protocols. All scaffolding and conductive equipment must maintain a safe clearance from power lines, and workers should wear proper insulated gear. Planning routes for moving scaffolding and identifying potential electrical hazards before work begins is essential. Continuous training on electrical risk awareness and emergency response ensures that personnel are prepared to act safely. In a factory setting, a worker was performing routine tasks at a textile production line when an industrial textile machine unexpectedly engaged while the operator's hand was near its moving parts. Operators must ensure that machinery with moving or rotating components is not active when hands or body parts are near hazard zones. Before engaging any machine, workers should confirm that guards and safety devices are in place and that all limbs are clear of operating areas. In an industrial facility, workers were operating CNC machinery during routine production tasks. While the machine was running, the access door was opened and a component from the machine unexpectedly detached. The detached piece made contact with a nearby worker. Co-workers responded immediately, and the individual was reported injured during the incident and received medical attention. Industrial machinery with moving components must never have safety interlocks. In mid-January 2025, an explosion occurred in the storage area of cryogenic gas tanks at a facility where pressurized industrial gases were kept. Prior to the event, gas release was observed around a smaller vessel that likely contained oxygen. A rapid pressure change within the storage area led to a sudden rupture of the tank, and the vessel was displaced from its storage location. The incident was captured on video and reported by workplace safety sources, and authorities are reviewing operational procedures and site conditions as part of the investigation. Storage and handling of cryogenic gases and pressurized tanks require rigorous control measures to prevent pressure buildup, and unintended release. Tanks must be outfitted with properly functioning pressure relief systems and maintained in well-ventilated areas with regular inspection of valves and venting paths. Personnel should receive training on the hazards associated with pressurized and cryogenic gases, and all storage systems should be designed and maintained in accordance with applicable safety standards. In Novorosiysk, Republic of Tatarstan, Russia, a worker was involved in a workplace incident while operating a lathe machine in a manufacturing facility. During the task, the worker leaned toward the equipment. As it was running, the machine's rotating components engaged unexpectedly with the individual before co-workers could intervene. Machinery with rotating parts, such as lathes, must not be accessed while in operation, and workers should maintain a safe distance from moving components. Proper guards and interlock systems should be installed and maintained to prevent inadvertent contact, and operators must receive regular training on hazard awareness and safe operating procedures. Lockout and tagout processes should be followed before any adjustments or close interaction with machinery. In the footage, a forklift operator is seen working during a late shift in a warehouse due to a brief moment of distraction. The forklift deviates from its route and makes contact with a stacked pallet. This contact disrupts the stability of nearby stacks, causing several pallets to collapse in sequence. This incident highlights a basic rule. Forklift operation requires constant focus. Fatigue and distraction significantly increase the risk of collisions and tip-overs. In the footage, a forklift is seen attempting to lift a heavy steel pipe. The pipe is lifted using an unsuitable sling. While the load is in the air, the sling suddenly fails, and the pipe moves downward uncontrollably. A routine lifting operation turns into a serious hazard within seconds due to the use of inappropriate rigging equipment. This incident clearly demonstrates a basic rule. Approved and suitable rigging equipment must be used for the specific load being lifted. Overloading and improvised methods significantly increase the risk of failure and falling loads. In the footage, a large bundle of long glass panels inside a glass shop is seen being supported manually. The shop owner is holding the bundle upright, while another worker attempts to separate one of the panels. At first, everything appears balanced and under control. However, shortly afterward, the person providing support loses focus and balance. The large glass bundle shifts position and begins to tip toward him. With the intervention of more people, the bundle is lifted and the trapped person is freed. This incident clearly demonstrates a basic rule. Large and heavy glass panels must not be held manually without proper securing. Glass and other fragile loads must not be handled without appropriate racks and mechanical supports. In the footage, a worker is seen adjusting a roll changer in a heavy-duty steel rolling facility. The hydraulic system used near large and powerful rollers unexpectedly activates during the adjustment. A hydraulic arm moves suddenly and forcefully, pushing the worker backward. As a result of this uncontrolled movement, the worker strikes a nearby structure and falls to the ground. Heavy machinery must be fully isolated before maintenance or adjustment. Hydraulic systems can move without warning if lockout/tagout (LOTO) is not applied. In the footage, a worker is seen performing maintenance on a tall pole at a construction site. To facilitate the work, the upper section of the structure is lifted using a crane. From the ground, the crane appears stable, and the work seems controlled and routine. However, during the operation, an unexpected loss of balance occurs at the base of the pole. Within a short time, the foundation shifts and the structure moves downward. While the worker is still secured, the lower section of the pole collapses with a significant movement. This incident clearly demonstrates a basic rule. Before crane-assisted operations, all parts of the structure must be secured, and lower supports must be verified. Workers at height must be protected against falls. Here, we see a woman in what looks like a store or warehouse environment attempting to manipulate a large heavy metal storage rack that's loaded with some items. She pulls, it loses control, and the entire structure tips over. Demolishing the ground beneath your own feet is a massive safety risk. This man thought the concrete floor was still solid enough to walk on, but his last sledgehammer blow had already destroyed the support. He learned the hard way that you should always work from a stable platform. Operating an excavator on such a steep, loose slope is an invitation for disaster. As the ground shifts under the weight, the machine loses its balance and rolls down the entire hillside. This is why you never exceed the maximum incline limits of your equipment. While working air crane, this man's leg accidentally got tangled in the hoist wire. Before he knew it, he was being pulled into the air. Luckily, his coworker spotted the danger very fast and stopped the crane before he was lifted any higher. These workers are using a small bar to hold up a heavy dump truck tailgate while they load rubble because the support isn't secured or locked. It only takes one accidental bump for the bar to slip.